Thank you for listening to The Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion. With your host, Dapper Data.
You're listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion, with your host, your boy Dapper Data. And today I have a special guest out here, y'all, man. I got my buddy, my friend, my brother, Charles Watson, man. Y'all say hi to Charles.
Hey, guys.
As always, man, before I've always mentioned that data is used everywhere for people to make better decisions and investments in their work. And, I've been going out trying to really interview a lot of people, a lot of different people in their fields and talk about what they really do and how they utilize data. And so I brought Charles in. We talk about security all the time. And so he'll be able to give you a little bit more insight as to how he uses data in his environment. So Charles, man, tell him, man, who you are, what you do, man, and how you got into the field you got into.
So, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. Yeah, guys, my name is Charles Watson. I go by Chuck. Probably can see the real name on the bottom. Currently, what I do is I'm an information security manager. I manage security assessment, penetration testing, heavily involved in configuration management, change control. Essentially, I just manage all the assessments that go through cloud-based technologies, on-premise technologies. These are things that the agencies themselves that we're responsible for, that we actually manage ourselves. We also have a lot of vendors that do a lot of third-party work for us that we manage as well. I'm not going to really talk about the actual agency I work for. It's not like NSA or anything like that. I just don't want anything that I say to be construed out speaking on behalf of that agency. So it's not top secret. You can link in me and find out where I work from. But for the sake of this discussion, I'm just talking for myself and not a representative for my agency. So yeah, so as far as how I got into cybersecurity, I think that's a question that I get asked all the time. Cybersecurity is really, really, really hot right now. Everybody wants to know, how'd you get into it? How can I get into it? How do I transverse into it? So originally my background was in electrical engineering. Went to school for it, got my bachelor's in it from Morgan State, MSU. But when I was at Morgan State, and the reason I'm going to give this background, the story might be a little long-winded. I apologize. But
no, it's good, man. Do your thing.
I want to emphasize that everybody's path to wherever they want to be is going to be different. There's no crystal stairwell or anything like that. So both of my parents are very in technology. My uncle was an INSS major. My aunt was a computer science major. So I grew up in a house where, technology is what it is. They breathe it, they work it, they made their life off of it. So I knew that based off the lifestyle that I was living, I want to do the same thing. And so I've always been very analytical growing up, always taking things apart. So it was just naturally go to school for engineering. And so went to Morgan State, great. At the time, it was like what really, really drew me is I don't know if you remember this show or this movie, Will Smith, when my goodness gracious, he's being chased by all these guys because he had a tape.
AI? You talking about artificial intelligence? Right?
Yeah, no, it was Will Smith, and it's gonna come to me while we're talking.
iRobot.
Anyway, not iRobot. No, it was these guys that was in the van, and so the guys that in the van is like monitoring everything he's doing. Enemy of the state. There we go. So it was enemy of the state.
Oh yeah.
So I always wanted to be the guy that was in the van. Like hacking into stuff and just like opening up bank accounts and stuff like that. It's just doing all that transversal stuff. So anyway, so I was like, all right, let me go. But then when I got to school, I realized I hated programming. I hate programming. Like, engineering, you're a computer science major. So it's one of those things where when you're doing it, once you start doing it, you're already like at the point of no return. You switch your major and then you're going to end up having to spend 2-3 extra years in school. And I'm like, I'm not trying to do that. I've already committed. Parents say I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to do it. So finished doing everything I'm going to do. So the whole time that I'm in undergrad, I'm also doing internships. Like I interned at HP. where I was doing usability testing. So
All
what we would do
related to
is
technology still?
yeah, all related. All my work has always
Okay,
been
okay.
related to technology. Yeah,
Okay.
hardcore always. So, but after my first internship, I started working for one of my aunts had a elementary school. She was a director of a charter school. So I ended up started doing IT for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like after classes in, I'm driving from Baltimore back to DC, helping um, configure her computers, configuring the servers,
Mm-hmm.
making firewall rule changes and stuff like that, so people can't go to
Okay.
Black Planet and
Yeah,
porn
yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
definitely.
So I was doing
Right,
all
right,
those
right.
things, yeah, even before I graduated. And so once I graduated, one of my single projects, and this is probably something that's going to like come close to home for you, is that I did my single project on IA. And
Oh
so
man.
we were networking. So it was all about fuzzy logic and stuff like that. So the premise of the project, and it's secret to why I'm saying all this, Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
And so the premise of the project was I had developed a sensor that you put on a football. So when a kicker kicked it, he knew exactly what force he kicked the ball at, what angle, the wind
Oh
direction,
man.
the speed, and everything like that. And it was all the information was being fed into the algorithm, so that when he
Right.
missed it, he knew exactly what he did wrong. Like, oh, you tilted it, you kicked it too far this far, you didn't
Man.
kick it, you kicked it too much into the wind, or vice versa. So you start getting all this data and inputs
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And each time he kicked, the algorithm got smarter,
Yeah.
so it was able to, be able to help predict. So it's predicting like that kick is out of your range. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not even so much, oh, the distance now. It's like, oh, the wind is blowing too hard towards you.
Right, right, right.
And so I went for my first real interview at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm talking, I don't really have no experience other than the internship and the work that I've done, nothing completely relevant to patents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm telling him about my senior project. I'm trying to spell the shit out of myself.
Right, right,
He
right.
hears network. He completely forgets about the neural part of it. So he ended up putting me in this technology where I'm examining all like security devices, network
Right.
devices, multiplexing and things like that. And so that's where I started getting into security, or
So
where I
you
started getting into
wait. So you telling me that you basically was already involved with some AI stuff before even getting into it, and it just so happened that you didn't even steer yourself away from the AI part first.
right.
You kind of went into
I
security
went
because
into it.
somebody else skipped
Yeah,
past the neural network part,
exactly. So but I'm pressed with a job. Everybody wants to be like, oh, I got a job right after school and stuff like that, or even before I graduated. I'm like, yeah, I
Mhm.
got a job. Woo. And so I started doing those. So I started, examining patents for routers, switches,
Mhm.
any of the new technology that was coming out. With Cisco winning one of the patents, I was able to review it and stuff like that. But I
Right,
hated
right,
the work, though. I hated it because it was just like I'm reading other people's work. I'm
right,
seeing what all the great things that everybody else is doing. I'm like, no, that's not for me. So
right.
maybe like 9 months, like I've realized before, I was like, yeah, this job is just not for me. So I started applying like crazy. I was even tempted to go into the Navy and stuff like that. I was like, I really
Mhm.
just want to get hands on. And so fortunately, I got a job at BAE Systems
Mhm.
as a project engineer. And so I'm like, what the heck is a project engineer? I don't care. I'll take it. And so what happened was at the time we were supporting DOD. And DOD so as a project engineer, number one, as a project engineer, basically what I was doing was I was just providing support to multiple projects that were
Mhm.
going on. And so one of the projects was information assurance team.
Mhm.
And this is the kicker, though, is that at the time, DOD was requiring that anybody who was doing anything with information assurance had to have a certain level of a cert.
Mhm.
You can Google it's like 8570 is the policy and stuff like that. And it tells you all the different tiers of a cert you need to have in order to do certain level work. But the thing is, though, none of the people who were doing information assurance couldn't get any of the certs.
Mhm.
I was like, what's going on here? So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. It's an opportunity. So I started studying, got the Security Plus. People who was doing the work couldn't get it, so they were getting cut off the contract. So as they were getting cut off the contract, opportunities started opening up. So one of the guys who was like the main information assurance guy for our division, I just went to his office and I was like, hey, I'm really interested in really getting into cybersecurity information assurance. I don't mind moonlighting. I don't mind continue doing the work that I'm doing right here and providing, support on the back end. You don't even have to bill me or anything like that.
Right,
I
right,
just
right.
really want to get experience.
Yeah, you just want that work. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, great. And so he was like, but we're not even going to do that. I'm going to get you, just because you came and I see the passion in you, I want you on my team.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I started just hardcore information assurance, hardcore
Mm-hmm.
cybersecurity. And so we were all doing weapon systems, so like submarine weapon systems
Nice.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I was able to work with like Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, um, John Hopkins, like
Mm-hmm.
pretty much all the heavy, big contracting, Boeing, all of them, just working with them on assessing and reviewing all this security documentation to make sure that they all integrate together and worked out. And then ever since then, I just really that's all I've been doing hardcore is just cybersecurity.
Man, yo, that's crazy, man. Because what interests me, and I'm pretty sure all the people out there that's listening, is that you don't really have to start off with a certain field, right?
You don't.
I mean, most of the time people out there, they're in one field and they start to another, and then they never know how other fields intertwine because
Mm-hmm.
as you'll see, like as we talk more, I mean, cybersecurity intertwines with data science in general and things like that, but before then you was already somebody that was interested in something that wasn't even this big coin term, right? Like
Right.
data science, right? Nobody was out there like, oh, data scientist, I want to be data science. Nobody was doing that back then, right? So now they're talking about that. They want to do it, and if then, I mean, do you think that you would have actually gotten into it if somebody was like, man, you ever heard of data scientists when you was doing AI stuff?
Yeah, because one of the things that after I heard about data science, and one of the things that, or even before I heard about data science, one of the things that I was thinking about doing was what is it called? Oh, I'm drawing a blank, but it's pretty much like what a lot of insurance companies use when they take all this data and they try to figure out how they determine your rate based off where you live, your age, and stuff like that. It's a whole
Yeah, that's
science to it.
basically the same thing. Yeah, that's
Actuary science. Excuse
ah,
me, it's
yeah, oh yeah, we
science.
talked about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
actuary
Yeah,
science.
yeah.
So I was like, wow, but I mean, it takes a lot of work to get into actuary science. There's not a lot of programs at the time when we were in undergrad that was really doing that. And so, but in hindsight, absolutely, absolutely, I've been doing something with the standard driven. Absolutely, that's the future. I mean, honestly.
Man, that's cool, man. So what do you think as far as your current field and being able to take data? Do y'all collect a lot of data currently where you're at?
We don't, but
Uh-huh.
we should.
Yeah.
We don't, but we should. And the reason why is because I work for a federal agency, and honestly, except for your your NSAs, your DISAs, and maybe even like the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, most federal agencies are just really slow behind the curve.
Right.
And so, like, even things like getting to continuous monitoring, which I have no problem diving a little bit more into, is that I like to call cybersecurity right now and information security, I like to call it a reactive science. Always reacting. We're always reacting. We're always reacting. You see this breach.
Instead of being
Oh, what
proactive, you
happened?
mean
Yeah,
reactive. Got
exactly,
you.
exactly. So you look like at Sony, Target,
Yeah.
a lot of your banks and stuff like that. You see, it hits the Washington Post. They're going
Yeah.
for Congress and stuff like that because something happened. They got breached.
Yeah.
A million accounts got hacked. And it's just like everybody's now trying to figure out what the heck went wrong, so they don't fall into that same suit. And so it's a lot of times it's not even what went wrong per se, because there's always going to be vulnerability. I don't care what you do, how secure you think you are, you're always going to be vulnerable. If you have users, your systems are always going to be vulnerable, which is great. I'm always going to have a job.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. It's always going to be a job for security.
Unless you want to have a computer that doesn't connect to the internet, or you have an application a web application that nobody can get to, there's going to be vulnerabilities to it. It's just the nature of the trade and stuff. Technology is constantly changing, new operating systems, new application updates. And each one of those, everyone's rushing to beat the competitor that they're like, oh, we'll patch that on the back end. And now you have all these 0 days. And 0 days are pretty much when a vulnerability comes out and the vendor themselves have not developed a patch yet. And sometimes there's other bug hunters, bounty hunters, and stuff like that who find these. Companies pay people thousands of dollars to find bugs in their software so that they can find it first before somebody who's malicious does it. So yeah, it's a whole people have a career out of just finding bugs. And so but it's just it's just the hamster in the wheel. It's just like everyone just keep going like this, like this, like this, and
Right.
trying to beat the competitors, but also security is always going to be on the back end because security doesn't make money. It saves you money if you
I'm
don't
gonna
get
tell you
breached,
one
but
thing.
for the most part,
I hate security. Honestly, sorry, Charles,
most people do. Most
but I
people do.
hate it.
We're the
I
bad
hate
guys.
it because I feel like they're holding me back from greatness. I'm trying
Yeah,
to do something out there. They're just always trying to
yeah.
put up this
You didn't do this.
this barrier before. They're like, oh yeah, you didn't do this. I got all of this. Oh no, you got this hole here. I'm like, what? So there's always these different areas and stuff, man.
But the
But
system works. The system
exactly,
works though.
exactly,
Yeah,
man. Yeah. And
but
one
yeah.
thing that's interesting though is that you kind of brought to my attention is that there is a need for collecting data and building data science in the
Yeah.
government and in
Mm-hmm.
cybersecurity in general
Yeah.
in the government, because in corporate, right, they're doing that, right? They're like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
they're already ahead of the curve. They're always doing that. But now in the government side, they're kind of behind the curve. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time, and I preached that one time during one of my interviews, man. I was like, that data science needs to be something that is in the forefront of like the
Mm-hmm.
government mindset, and it's not, right. And so they're bringing in products
Mm-hmm.
like sim products and stuff, right, which I don't know if y'all
Yeah.
know, that security
Splunk.
information
Yeah. Yeah.
management. They're bringing those
Yeah.
products in,
Mm-hmm.
which one may be Splunk. They got McAfee products that
Like,
do that
yeah.
stuff. They do all that scanning and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, but and what that does is like bring some of those real time like event management things that are in there. So if I'm on my phone, right, and for all your end users, if I'm on my phone, I got events that's saying unauthorized user logged in or authorized user logged. Like it's capturing all that and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
doing and the idea is that we're capturing it, but are we doing analytics? Are we collecting enough of the data to be able to say, well, now we know we can predict these threats, in the
Mm-hmm.
future and stuff. I can be ahead of the game, but the corporate is
Right.
doing that, right? So are you seeing anybody implementing like analytics from a compliance or
Yeah.
governance or like a SIM standpoint or something like that?
No. We're not. I think, and we're far from that, Bobby. To be honest with you, we're
Yeah.
far from that. I think a lot of organizations are still struggling with just endpoint security. Period.
Mm.
Let alone what do you do with the information once you have it. And so, I do think that there's a vision for it.
Mm-hmm.
How close are we to it?
So they
I'm
talk
not very
about it a lot.
optimistic.
I'm sure
Yeah, they
that you
talk about it a
probably
lot.
hear it at
Absolutely.
least once a week. You're probably
Exactly.
like, yeah, your leads and stuff, man. Everybody's out there probably like AI,
Yeah, it
machine
sounds right.
learning and things like that.
Yeah.
But they're far from it, like you said, man. And as far as governance though, right, to being able to like help improve the data quality and integrity and stuff, right?
Right.
I think that that's something major, because a lot of you all, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe you could talk a little bit about like kind of a day-to-day task without getting too deep into it,
Yeah.
but if you're looking at, if you have to make a decision, you have like these policies that you have to make a decision on, or you have this threat in your environment you have to make a decision on, whatever it is, you know, you're not using probably data science tools or analytics tools, right? You're probably using like just your own thoughts based on, or your own, you're putting all the confidence and stuff in a human, right?
Yeah.
And so go ahead, yeah, talk about that a
No,
little
I
bit.
was gonna say it's very qualitative analysis that's done. It's
Hmm.
especially with security. Especially with security. You mentioned a lot about like commercial, and I think the biggest difference is a lot of times it's the mission. It's the
Mm.
mission of the organization that really dictates that. So if you look at a lot of commercial, look at your big hitters like um your Apples, your Googles, your Microsofts, or your e-commerce.
Hmm.
That's it's it's more critical. Honestly, it's more critical because they're dealing with a lot more of the everyday citizens PII.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
I mentioned like Sony in the very beginning. This is people. You're like how many people have a credit card tied to the federal government? It's not a lot. I
Ah,
mean,
right,
it's not.
true, true.
People don't buy anything from the federal government. Unless you're a federal employee, then you have a government credit card. But
Right. It's a
I play
different mission,
PlayStation.
right? It's a
Yeah, it's a
different
different
mission.
mission.
Hmm.
And so now, like, and a lot of times, the federal government, their mission is so unique. It's like you really don't have a choice. Who else are you going to file your taxes with other than our
Right.
There's no competition for it,
Yeah, no
honestly. It's
competition
like,
out there.
okay, the IRS gets hacked. Oh, we're embarrassed. Congress is going to be pissed off. Yes, but who else are you going to file your taxes with? You're
Right.
not going to file your taxes. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, we got breached. OPM. OPM got breached.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else are you going to do? You still, if you want a job with the federal government, you're still going to go to USA Jobs. You're still going to get, your PII still going to go with OPM. Well, they're supposed to get rid of OPM, but that's a different story.
Oh,
But
they
it's
are.
like,
We talk about that later. I didn't even know
yeah. So, I mean,
that.
that's what they've been saying. They said that OPM is
Uh,
supposed to be going away, but how true that is, I don't know. But
mm,
it just says that you really don't have a choice. You have a choice, like if your bank gets hacked, okay, I'm going to leave Bank of America and I'm going to go to Wells Fargo. You can do that,
mhm.
or Sony gets hacked, I'm not going to play PlayStation no more. I'm just going to buy Xbox, or vice versa. You have all these other options. So the competitive differences are that you have to worry about your competitors. So, and those entities know that we can't mess up because our customers are going to go somewhere. Amazon gets hacked, we're going to stop. Everybody's going to go back to eBay. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
people are going to go to Target or Walmart. We're going to stop ordering from Amazon.
Right. Right.
Very short lived. But they have. People have like a short memory. Honestly, a hack
Yeah.
happens. The company pays the millions and billions of dollars to clean it all up, and people go right back to what they're going. I mean, look at Corona. People still going outside. So
Right. 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 Right.
we have a very short term memory when it comes to people as a whole. So, but as far as data and the federal government, we absolutely are using it, but we're not using it so much from a predictive standpoint, but we're looking at it more of, okay, this is how we look right now. What did we do? And so, like I was talking
So you're
about,
still being reactive.
yeah, absolutely,
You're still being reactive.
We're not going to
Okay.
stop being reactive. I don't, and I think even with data, you're still going to be using old data to create or predict what's going on.
Mhm.
Look at the weather. They're looking at old weather trends to predict what the weather's going to be
That's
in
how
the
you got to
future.
do
So,
it. Yeah.
yeah, data. I mean, it depends. It's never, like I said, that you're never going to stop using old data. It's now how do you use it, and I think that's what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to use old data to help you predict. I don't think necessarily the federal government or a lot of entities really, like, there are some SIM products that are doing it. Ironically, somebody hit me on LinkedIn today, and they were talking about recorded future. You ever heard of this?
Oh no. What's that about?
Recorded future. So I mean, if you break the name up, it kind of makes sense.
Right.
So recorded. So that's something that's happened in the past that you recorded, and now you're
Right.
using that to try to predict what's going to happen in the future. And so, you start developing things like algorithms, and you start thinking about, you learn from attacks. So we were talking about like hackers and stuff like that. So most hackers have a methodology that they do in order to do a hack. One of the first things that you have to do as any hacker is you have to collect data. You have to understand your target. You can't just go in, what you see on TV, where people just at a computer and they're just hacking and stuff like that without, it doesn't, it's
You gotta do
not
some
that sexy.
recon. You gotta do some
It's not
recon
that
on
sexy.
it. You gotta figure out, that person. You gotta figure out a little bit more
Everything. You have the
information.
fingerprint, you got to figure out what operating system that they're running, what applications are on there, what network devices that they are, what type of firewall and things like that. And you probe at it, and that's where the data comes in that you're collecting, and what I don't think a lot of people use until they've been hacked. Then they're looking like, oh, okay, this is what this person was doing, or these individuals were doing to hack us. But as they're going on, you might have your IDS data drop the packets and stuff like that, and you might go back and review it. But the thing is, though, everyone's understaffed. So until something actually happens, really, you're not going to have a lot of people who are spending that much time analyzing it. You're like, oh, our IDS caught it, we're good. Instead of looking at, yeah, they caught it, but how long did it take for them to catch it?
Right.
What
So
was
you bring
going
up a
on?
good point, though, because you talk about IDS, right? Which everybody, if y'all want to know, that's intrusion detection system. So we're detecting it, and if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, is that that's more of a reactive type of thing, right? But then you got intrusion prevention systems, right? You got the IPS, right? And so if I'm thinking that, I'm actually trying to prevent you, which means that I have data that I'm using from the past, which means I'm already ahead of the game, right?
Yeah.
And so do you all use any of those? Is that something
we use it? A lot of them are baked in together. And so it goes back into what your mission is, because like part of having an IDSPS or IPS, whichever one you want to call it, because a lot of times they combine the two technologies together, is that sometimes, let's think about the CIA, the triad. You know, you have your confidentiality, you have your integrity, you have your availability. So what is stopping me from a competitor knowing that, hey, you have an IPS that I keep throwing things at it, knowing that your network is going to react and it's just going to go into a fail-safe mode. And that fail-safe mode means, hey guys, I'm not going to let any traffic in. And so we dump all these empty packets or whatever. Now I brought down this is redundancy, but a lot of your big hitters, they of course have redundancy, but your mom and pop shops, your small businesses, they probably don't have those things.
Right.
And so unless you're leveraging somebody else's network like AWS, which is very possible, but a lot of people I don't think a lot of people are hosting their own websites anymore. So that would just be really stupid now. It's so cheap. But unless you want to like learn, like if you're learning, absolutely host your own website. But honestly, if you're not trying to learn, let somebody else host your own website. You know, let them worry about redundancy and protection and stuff like that. But what happens is that's denial of service now. Like, what can I do to bring your network down? I don't necessarily need to get to your information, but I just need to let your system not be available for 5 minutes.
So they care more about that sometimes because they're going to just impact your environment way more by they might. So you got some of them out there that's saying, hey, I want to steal your data, right? Then you got some of them out there saying, I just want to bring you down. I just don't care. And you just lose billions of dollars real quick, instantly and stuff, right?
Yeah. Or embarrassment. A lot of times it's just clout. A lot of hackers they hack for clout. You know, they just want to say that they did it.
Right. So are you all taking data science, right? It can involve about 5 different parts, right? So you got the math and statistics stuff, which you don't really see. People like you and I, we're not going to dive that deep into the algorithm and stuff, right? You got those people who specialize in that. Then you got people who talk about AI, right? You got the machine learning, you got supervised, unsupervised learning. You got these type of mechanisms, but then you also have something where I think you all will benefit the most from is more of the data visualization piece, right? Which means like you're getting just to put in simplistic forms, like charts and graphs, right? So you all are getting, exactly. You're getting these dashboards, and now that you're able to look at this dashboard and make a decision to say, dang, based off of this, I know that maybe this attack may happen, or based off of this, I know that maybe we're getting insider threat, something like that, or even looking at like anything that can help you make some better decisions, right? Governance, compliance and stuff like that, and implementing, like, are they even looking at implementing? I got 2 questions. One of them is, are they looking at implementing governance and like data science roles or data science security roles in a security field in the government per se, first, and then are they doing it in a commercial? Do you see any of that?
So I have seen them. The federal government has required that federal agencies now have to have a chief data officer.
Oh.
Yeah. So So I think I
told
you about that a while back.
You sent me something.
So they do have that, but I think right now it's more about data retention and making sure that the federal government is keeping good records, which is a good thing. I mean, honestly, but it's really for, hey, you got to keep this document for 7 years or whatever.
Right.
I think the goal is to absolutely move towards using that information to make better decisions in the future. Right. And so one of the things you were talking about as far as like taking all these data points from different sources. So one of the things that DHS has, and we are using GRC, so governance, risk, and compliance software, which ties all these things together in order to help allow your C executive level people be able to make better business decisions. And so with GRC, how it works is that you understand what your policies are. Your policies pretty much govern, what things you have to have in place. A lot of your security controls are built upon making sure that you're adhering to those policies. And as you do that, that's how you remain in compliance. So they kind of go
Right,
compliance and governance kind of go hand in hand. It's just
right,
one is
right.
high level and one is really like in the weeds. And so and then all that's how you start to manage your risk better. And
Mm,
so DHS has this thing called Aware. I don't know what the hell it stands for, but pretty much it's how they score your environment. And each system can have sensors on it or agents on it, and based off of things like your scan results, your patch level. You can even add an extra variable to it based off of how valuable that asset is or that application is to your agency. So if you they require you to have what they determine what are called high value assets, and these
mm-hmm.
are systems that are really critical for your organization to continue their mission. So you put extra emphasis on them. You assess them with a little bit more granularity, a little bit more frequently. So we were talking about what do you do with audit logs. So like you have these audit logs.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with them? Like, are you just
Right,
waiting for something to happen, or do you have people who are going and actually analyzing when everything's peachy?
right, right,
And
right,
that's where it's juicy at right there, where everything's peachy and you're able to see, oh, what's normal behavior.
right. And
And
that's a
then when
role
things,
that a data scientist can play in something like that, right? Like
yeah, they
a
can see
data scientist.
trends. Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right, right. Pick
So yeah,
patterns
and
and stuff like that.
yeah, so we look at trends, but it's more so like, okay, are things going up and down? Like, oh, we just did a tech refresh or something like that. Okay, so we should see a spike
Mm-hmm.
in vulnerabilities because we just applied this new patch, or we haven't applied this patch, we just applied this new technology, or we just applied patch Wednesday or something like that. Our vulnerability should go down now. If we're
Right,
not seeing that, then something's going wrong. Either we're not applying the patches when we're supposed to, we're behind on patching, or the patches that we're applying aren't satisfying the muster. They're not meeting the muster. And so you look at those trends and you kind of know, like looking up, okay, Patch Tuesday's coming up. We know that, we're either going to, no, okay, Patch Tuesday coming up, but we also know that our vendor who does the scans for us, say use Nessus or whatever, they update their definitions quarterly. I'm just throwing out
right, right,
things
right.
like that. And so when they do that, you know that it's going to be some inconsistencies. But then when
Mm-hmm.
they update their patching or they update their definitions, all of a sudden now you might see a spike because there's new things that just came out that now that you weren't scanning for before.
Right,
And
right.
so those are things that you have to take in consideration when you're breaching your leadership, is letting them know, hey, the window of which we just did a tech refresh and the window in which we did the new patches, the new definitions for the scans, virus
Mm-hmm.
scans viruses are created all the time. You can go online right now, Bobby, and download the software and it will show you how to create viruses. And then
Oh,
there's other technology. Yeah, absolutely. The thing is about what all these tools, the tools were actually, they were meant to be more offensive, or excuse me, they were meant to be more defensive. It was meant for your system admins, your network engineers, your security people to be able to go in and throw things at their own environment so that
mhm.
their environment is secure. Look at things like Nmap. Nmap is absolutely supposed to be an admin's tool.
Right, right,
Honestly, it's
right.
supposed to be an admin's tool so they can be able to ping everything on the network, find out what's on the network, what's not on the network, and things of that nature. But in the wrong hands, it now becomes like one of the major one of the major offensive tools that your hackers use when they
Right.
starting to do their assessment.
Because
They're
what it
doing
is
they're
that
doing their attack.
they're actually collecting data on you, so they can use
Absolutely.
that to collect the data and things like that, for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
very interesting, man, because like there's so many people out there, like the offensive versus defensive. When you were talking about that and stuff, right? Like you got offensive people who probably use data to make better decisions on how they can attack you, right? And
Yeah.
then you got the
Absolutely. Yeah.
defensive people who is making decisions or based off of the data they're using, because and actually the people who have the advantage, right, are the offensive people, right? It's just like a wide receiver if you want to get into football, right? I like using
Yeah.
football because it's like a strategy of like life or something, I feel
You
like.
would
But
do that.
yeah, I know.
No,
but
I'm joking.
but when you look at it, no, that's
No, go
true
ahead.
though. But when you look at it, you got the
No,
receiver
no.
versus a cornerback. The
Mm-hmm.
receiver always has the advantage
Has
because
the
they know
advantage.
the route
Yeah.
that they're going to take. and all
Yeah,
that stuff, right? But you got the
yeah,
defensive player who's guarding them. He doesn't know what he's going to do. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying at all. So that's what you see in data with cybersecurity, and then
Hmm.
and it seems like the way I look at it, I mean, you just gave me this thought process, right? Like I'm looking at it, okay, the offensive person in cybersecurity, right? They know what they're going to do. They know how they're going to attack. They know how they're going to get better at it, and
Hmm.
they're going to know how they're going to kill the enemy. But then
Hmm.
the defensive person, right? They need data to be able to
Hmm.
say, how can I get a step ahead of what I am already?
Right.
Because they're already
Yeah.
behind the offensive person, right? They're trying
Hmm.
to figure out how can I get like in front of the offensive person. They'll never be able to
Yeah.
get in front of them. It seems like. It seems like they'll never be able to get. I mean, what's your thought?
You
Yeah.
won't. You won't because the reason why you won't and the thing is honestly like hackers only got to be right one time.
Hmm.
They only got to exploit one vulnerability. You know what I mean? But defense, you got to be like aware of all your vulnerabilities. I only got as a hacker, I only got to hack one vulnerability to be successful. That's all I
Right.
need.
Right.
And so, but what I was going to say is that it's you have to. I lost my train of thought, but so like you have to
Hmm.
use all this information that you get to I guess to better help you make the best business decisions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so with 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 hacking it's or with trying to be predictive, I think that's where we really want to go to.
Right.
How do you
Right.
become more proactive? And I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know it's out there. I mean they do it like personnel security, you know, like before they learned that hey, these are the characteristics that you look out for when you decide whether or not somebody can get a clearance. Like it
Hmm.
seems like okay, a person's going through divorce, a person is default on a mortgage, or you know they're
Hmm.
having money problems. You know these are all the kind of characteristics that they've learned over the course of time based off of people who've done crimes. You know what I mean? They look
Right.
at those
Right.
characteristics, notice like okay, we've noticed this trend that you know 50% of the people who have pulled a John Snowden
Hmm.
honestly were you know they were dealing with some type of financial problems. They were going through
Right.
a bad divorce and stuff like that, and they were desperate for cash. And somebody exploited that,
Right.
and then they noticed things that like oh, a lot of the breaches happen from people internal people not doing what they were supposed to be doing. Right now,
Right.
phishing is like huge. Our agency, every agency I've worked for has started doing like massive
And
phishing
what's like the
campaigns, right?
fishing? What's the fishing thing going on? What do you
So
mean
so
by that?
so what with phishing is pretty much what they're doing is they're sending out emails
Hmm.
trying to see they're sending emails as though they come from outside the network, and they're trying to see who is clicking on the link. It could
Right.
be
Right.
anything like, oh, you know what? Everybody's been done a great job. The agency is going to give everybody $100 gift card.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Times is
Right.
tough. You know,
Right.
times is tough.
Right.
Everybody's clicking and stuff like that. You
Right.
click on that link, and it's just like, oh, you weren't a winner. So you've been getting, oh, I just wasn't a winner, and you go about your business. All of a sudden now, what you fail to realize is now you got
Right.
some malware that's been
Got
installed.
him. Got him.
Yeah, got them on the back of on your network. So you
Right.
know, agencies start doing a lot of more of those phishing campaigns to get people more in tune to those things because your defense is only your defense is only strong as your weakest link,
Hmm.
and people are the weakest link. People are the
Yeah.
weakest link. I mean, it's just people
So maybe they got
people
to
forget,
find a way.
people get tired.
They're gonna have to find a way to incorporate. I mean, I think I always say, man, data science, man, or data is the way to solve world problems.
Yeah.
You know, and I look at it like for what you're saying, if I might not be able to think like a human all the
Hmm.
way, right? But I will be able to do it based off of the data that I'm collecting. And
Hmm.
I can kind of get ahead of some of those attacks, right? You know, like
Yeah.
you collect all the phishing attack attempts that they have conducted in this world right down. You
Hmm.
keep collecting that data. Say you got one at your organization. If you keep collecting that over time, you know, keywords, you know, links and things like that, you know, you
Yeah.
keep collecting it and then you're able to say you put it into a system, some algorithmic system that a data scientist created, whatever it is, they can
Hmm.
now say, dag, you know what, if this comes along, I know it's an attack. I know it's an attack.
Right.
It'll tell you me, or shoot, they'll block it. You don't even have to get to the.
I mean, that's
You know
spam essentially, but not as smart. You're absolutely
right.
right. It's spam, but
Right.
spam will also collect things that shouldn't be collected. Also,
Right.
so
Right.
you're
Right.
absolutely right. But I guess the question is, and maybe this is a question for you, is
Mhm.
how do you do that though? Like, how do you predict something where people are it's so arbitrary? I mean,
So
honestly, somebody could
chaotic,
just be,
right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
chaos. It's absolutely, it's a lot of noise. It's a lot of noise. Like, how do you predict that? Oh, Bobby's going to wake up today and like F the world.
Yeah.
I'm trying to clear everybody's student loan today.
Yeah. Well, you
I'm
can't,
trying to be Robin
right?
Hood.
The thing is, the most chaotic stuff, right? The lottery tickets, right? Tornadoes and stuff like that. Those are the hardest things to kind of predict. But what you want to do is I just say try. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can get as close as you can, right, to trying, right? And you might be able to get those close numbers, right? Over time, you think about Watson, right? IBM Watson and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's what it's essentially doing is grabbing all the information from the internet all the time,
Right.
right? But it'll never be able to do what the human will be able to do to essentially like all the way through.
Right.
And so that's the chaos part, right? The chaos part is
Mm-hmm.
in human intervention that's in there
Mm-hmm.
where you can't control whether this person wakes up today and say I'm mad, or whether this person wakes up today and say
Right.
I'm angry
Right.
or I'm sad, or hey, I don't even want to attack today. Or I want to try a new method because I'm feeling this way, or my brother gave me this advice, so I'm gonna go do this.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't account for those things. What you can do is collect the data based off of that over time, and then you'll be able to fill in
Mm-hmm.
more of those gaps. But every scenario in the world,
Right.
man, 20 years from now, another human being will do something totally different from
Really
what
different.
somebody
Yeah.
did. And so you won't be able to do
Right.
that, man. But just to kind of get towards the end of this conversation, man. I mean, you
Are you
said,
finished with me?
nah, I mean, I ain't
I'm
finished
joking.
with you,
No, I'm
man.
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
But
I'm
you said,
joking.
but you shed so much light on,
Mhm.
security in general, cybersecurity, and how like how it's being used, from a data standpoint, how it's being
Mhm.
used in the security industry in general, and how a lot of people are constantly trying to find like some of the flaws, right? Because that's key, right? Some of the flaws, and then a lot of data
Mhm.
scientists out there that's listening, or people in general that's listening, they can see if I'm a data scientist, I can see, well, dang, how can I help
Mhm.
the government more, right? How can I help these industries
Right.
more, fill in the gaps from a security standpoint with my skill set as a data scientist, and then also from a regular person, right, regular end user, a person saying, dang,
Mhm.
let me be a little bit more aware of some of these things, right?
Right.
Because you got the phishing stuff, man. So like data privacy is important,
Mhm.
security, governance, right, compliance. Those are some of the major concerns, especially with all these government like regulations out there, right?
Right.
You got the NIST regulation, you
Mhm.
got which is what's the
Oh,
NIST? Is that
yeah.
National
Oh,
Information Security?
yeah. 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 Yeah.
Those type of regulations that's out there, man. It's like constantly coming and coming, but that doesn't really stop the cyber threats, right?
Right.
That out there, right? It just helps you better prepare for those risks and stuff, man. And so, I definitely think that that's something that like you talking about like being able to protect against those things,
Mhm.
breaches and leaks and things like that, man. That's important, man. You know.
Yeah.
So,
But
oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was gonna say, but also I think one of the key things that is going to be contingent on, honestly, Bobby, is that people are going to have to be organizations are going to have to be more transparent with their dirty laundry.
Mm,
If people aren't sharing those things, then you really can't learn until your organization's impacted. You know
mm.
what I mean? And it shouldn't necessarily take the media or some OIG audit or something like that
Right, right,
for
right.
those things to happen. So it would be great. It would be great if people could have a third party who's able to say, hey, we're going to keep all this anonymous.
Mm,
Like the actual breaches, the breaches are going to be public, but the who's
right.
impacted, who was
Mm-hmm.
impacted by those breaches, nobody will ever know. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But we're going to aggregate this information, compile it, normalize it, and so that way other entities can go and extrapolate a file and be like, okay, this is what things that are happening right now. Right now, that people are our size, our complexity, or just period, that are dealing with these type of breaches. I keep using Sony because Sony's just at the top of my mind. Imagine
Right.
like Sony got breached, but it's like, okay, or almost got breached. Let's talk about that. They almost got breached. This is what happened. If that same person had tried to hit another organization, they might have been successful, but the fact is Tony shared, hey, somebody tried to hit us and they were doing this, this, and another. Look out for this attack right now. And so one of the things I was saying before was like, I was talking about how there's applications out here where people, your script kids can go in and create malicious payloads. But they also, one that I didn't add is that they're able to feed this payload into another system. And the system would tell you how good the malicious code is. Basically telling you exactly all of your virus protection system packages. It would tell you which of those virus protection, your Nortons and things of that nature, it would tell you which ones wouldn't pick it up. You know, so now it's telling you, okay, out of 100 virus protections out there, only 50% would have noticed this vulnerability.
No, you're right, man. That's
scary.
Like that's
that's scary. Honestly.
That is real scary, man.
You get 50%. I mean, that's success. I mean, it's success. So
yeah, because what you think now? What you think they're getting now? About 20? Not even that. Maybe like I mean, you think they're getting way less percent than that?
I mean, anything more than 0 is a lot.
Okay.
Anything more than 0 is a lot.
They get like the 0.
Yeah, but you're not, because it just takes time for, you know, we talked about definitions and like, oh, this virus came out, now we add it to the definition. Add it to our dictionary, for lack of better words. But then you also have to start thinking about like characteristics of viruses, and that's where the breadth is. Like if you just look at how firewalls themselves, I know I'm probably running over your time, Bobby, but anyway.
No, it's cool. Good.
If you look at the transition of firewalls by themselves, you know, you've gone from just using normal access control lists where, okay, this IP address has been approved. We said that this port's open. We're expecting that. And then you start getting to things like packet stateful. So that basically now is your teardrops and your, I see this packet that came in. I keep on seeing these packets come in, but all of a sudden, I don't see no packets coming back. Or I see a packet that's saying that you requested something, but we didn't receive that original request. And so now you get those type of firewalls that are able to, they're a little bit more intelligent, where they're able to look at the state of what's being sent. So I'm gonna break it down a little bit for people.
Type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's definitely not as smart as AI. It's really it's really just like, hey, I think the best example to give, and best analogy to give is like, oh, you receive an email with somebody saying that, oh, your package has been delivered. You're like, I didn't
receive that package. That happened to me before. Oh, I didn't make a purchase. Oh man, okay.
I didn't make a purchase. And so why am I getting the packet? And so that's what happened. So that's what the staple firewall does. It's like, why am I getting this request as it's getting a response? Excuse me. Why am I getting this response? But I didn't. There was no request that came out of our agency or out of our environment. And so a lot of people don't think about that. Everybody thinks about traffic coming in, but there's also a lot of entities that are using federal government, using organizations, because there's so many endpoints as zombies. People don't think about that. So now what I'm going to do is I impact your agency, and now I use your agency, all your endpoints, 1,000 endpoints as zombies. And now you have all this traffic that's coming out of your network that looks legit because it's coming from the federal government or whatever. And now I'm using it to bring down another person's system.
Right.
So people don't think about that. So you got to look at you don't just look at the traffic that's coming into your agency, even though that's where all the GUI stuff is, but you also have to look at the information or the packets that are being transferred out of your network. So you don't want your network to be used as somebody else's pawn.
Right.
It happens.
So I was going to say, how can you, like, what can that help you do if data science was involved with that? But I see
trends,
trends and stuff over time and stuff, man. And that seems like that's the key with cybersecurity and security in general, right? You know, I mean, everybody can make better decisions. I mean, that's any business, right? But with cybersecurity in general, being able to look at the trends, because you all are collecting a lot of data. And what I see, honestly, is the decisions that you all are making, that you can actually make decisions now with something that where you're saying I got some grounding behind it, because I actually like not
It's a
only can I make
baseline.
the decision, I can say, hey, here's the facts, right?
Yeah.
I've collected this over time, all this data, and it's showing this. Because a lot of time it's like, hey, I'm making a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, I'm showing security, based off of theory, right? Instead of like
Mhm.
saying, well, hey, let me look at all this stuff that I'm seeing. But you all do
Mhm.
it better than others. But still, it could add some more validity behind everything. It could actually add some more like 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 support behind the decisions that you all make, right? If you decide to say, hey, I'm going to implement this risk management plan, I'm going to shut
Mhm.
down the system right now, but you know why? Because you know that this specific attack happened because of the data that
Right.
I've collected over time. It's happened right here.
Yeah.
I know this is
And that
the
happened.
attack,
Well,
right?
it should happen. It in theory it should happen, but then it goes to how many people are really going to shut down something that impacts the mission. But what it does do now is, hey, okay, we won't shut it down, but we're going to look at it a lot closer now. We're
Right,
going to
right,
continue
right. I see what
using
you're
it,
saying.
but we're going to look at it
Okay,
more than we were before. So I mean,
right.
again, that's where the governance comes in though. Like, you make those business decisions for the sake of the organization, whereas, yeah, all right, we can't stop doing business. We need this system to do business, but at the same time, we're not going to turn a blind eye just because we know we need it. And so
Right.
that's what happens is you start looking at it, you start examining it more frequently. So you're looking at your audit logs, you're looking at it more often. You're getting those feeds sent to the SIM, and you're having it analyzed more. You're looking at what things could potentially be considered incidents. That's all it's about, like identifying what those incidents are, and maybe sometimes what you got to do is you got to turn up your sensitivity so that way maybe something is not necessarily an incident, but it looks like
Hmm.
it could become an incident. We now make
Right.
that an incident, and so that's what happens. You just start, you start fine tuning those tools to become more sensitive, but at the same time, they're not necessarily becoming false positives.
Hmm.
And now it's so many false positives and so much. I go back to the whole noise thing, wherein you can't see what you're really looking for because now you made your things so sensitive and you're
Hmm.
picking up everything. And now the real bad stuff is sneaking in with the stuff that shouldn't have been picked up in the first place.
Right, right, man. Man, that's dope, man. That's dope, man. Man, security is it, man. And I'm go ahead and slow this down because we can talk for hours, man. We rap a
Yeah, we
lot,
could,
man.
we
That's how we
could, we
roll,
could.
man, and stuff, man. You'll get a
Sorry,
couple other
guys.
people in here. That's how we roll, man. We just
Yeah,
talk, man. Once we get into it, we're it's over,
it's
But
over.
just to close it out, man, Charles, I really appreciate it, man. For being on here again. I always talk about how security is is very important and vital to an organization, but I like to
Hmm.
always, as you all know, I've been getting into data science. And so tying those two together, man, me and Charles, we've talked about security, man, a lot of times, man. A lot
Hmm.
of times our conversation is around security. Shoot, when I went and got my master's of cybersecurity, I pinged on Charles for all the good news, man, all the good juicy stuff, how to do this, how to do that and stuff. And so he's definitely been able to help me out throughout that path, man.
Hmm.
And again, cybersecurity and data science, man, that's definitely something that's coming around. If
Yeah,
not,
they're gonna
it's
like,
already there,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
For sure. And you got network traffic, business applications, cloud
Hmm.
traffic, external threat, internal threats, you name it and stuff,
Yeah.
man. So thanks again, Charles, man. And
No
again,
problem.
like I always like to leave with dope data, man, and I'll just leave with this, man. Everyone and every company uses data to make better decisions, and as you can see, with security is one of them. Um, so thanks
Hmm.
again, Charles, man, and thank you all for listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion. Again, with your host Dapper Data. Please follow me at Mr. Dapper Data on IG or Twitter or Facebook. And Charles, man, thanks for joining again, man, and
No
providing
problem.
your expertise in the security field and how you use data science, man. And do you want to just share, man, where they can reach you at and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I'm definitely on LinkedIn, Facebook. You can definitely follow me on Instagram as well at The Last Guru. That's BALAST GURU, The Last Guru.
All right, man. Thanks again, man. And again, I'll holler
No
at you
problem,
all.
brother.
Peace, man. Talk to y'all later, man.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion, with your host, Dapper Data.